right. So good afternoon. I hope everyone is having a good day so far. And great. I know we got sound, we got action, and we got a few people on the chat. And as you know, I'm going to try to keep to our time. So welcome to the Fidelity of Implementation series. We're looking at the state plan. Today, our topic is professional development. And so we'll get started. And a couple people are asking questions on where can you view the previous Zooms and where can you get a copy. So when you go to the TEA webpage, and if we'll have time at the end, I will guide you there. But if you go to the TEA webpage, and someone put the link up there, thank you. I have developed a strictly resource page that has all of the webinar, the Zoom links, the chat links, the PowerPoint that we will go through as we go through this process, and the upcoming links to the actually the last webinar for this year, and was also posted. So, and they came out in the listserv. So if you haven't signed up for the listserv, that is something else to do. And welcome everybody. So let's get started. Let's get rolling so we can make the best of our hour. So today we're really talking about the state plan. We're looking at our objectives of the 30 hours, 6-hour update, the administrative training, counselor training, and we'll talk a little bit about documentation as we go forward. Just for a reminder, so these are our DT Tuesdays. I hope that you've enjoyed these. They are the first and third Tuesday of the month. The first Tuesday is at 9 a.m. and the third is at 1 p.m. So it would take all of your time at one point. And I tried to keep these to an hour session. So we are here at November the 19th, getting ready for Thanksgiving. I hope everyone has a great one. Get some rest, enjoy your time, and then I hope to see you at Gifted Ed in San Antonio. TAGT is having their annual conference, and so hope to see you there. And I do have sessions there. I have my update and a couple of others, and so see you then. And then our final one is going to be December the 10th for this year, and I am already planning out our calendar for the spring. So kind of going over what we've already approached and talked about. So we've talked about stabilizing your foundation. We've talked about Gifted Ed, program evaluation, the best use of funds. We are today talking about professional development, and then next time we'll start a series, because I do believe that identification is going to take more than one meeting. So we'll start with identification, and then we'll keep moving from there. So identification is going to be a lot, but here's a question asked on my behalf. If you will send your questions about identification in advance. We've got 2 more sessions. We've got 1 more session before at that time. So start sending those to me between now and December. And we can try to get your answers all together and try to give you I like to give you a written a written response so that everyone will know the same thing. It's not based on your interpretation. Is this what you see on in writing? So please send your questions, and we will take care of that. And and I try to follow the chat as we go forward. So I wanted to bring the administrative code, and I'll fix my color coding later. So that everyone knows this is part of law. This is not just, this is what the legislators with our State Board of Education have put forth that you should ensure. One, that prior to an assignment, that a teacher who provides instruction and services for your GT students, have a minimum of 30 hours of staff development that includes nature and needs, assessing student needs, curriculum, and curriculum and instruction. So we're not making up something. This is where it's coming from, where we're saying this is what your students and your teachers need to provide instruction. The second one is those without training. They should have their training within 1 semester. I know a lot of practices are out there. You give a little bit more time because you just know, depending on that teacher, especially if it's a new teacher coming into your district, or what all of their new teacher orientation trainings, you sometimes extend it out, but just realize the law does says 1 semester. And then the third one is that you should have an annual 6-hour of professional development for those who are providing instruction and services as a part of your programs for GT students. So, and then the final one is administrators and counselors who have authority for program decisions have a minimum of 6 hours of professional development. And theirs is to also include nature and needs and program options. So this is where we're getting our basis for our professional learning. As you know, with the state plan, we changed the title from professional development. We moved with the culture, and we're doing professional learning. So as you know, with the state plan, when we move forward, we did a little tweaking here and there. And so our overarching statement and belief that all personnel involved in the planning, the creation, delivery, and administration of services gifted and talented students possess the knowledge required to develop and provide differentiated programs and services. So there are 12 accountability standards and there are 10 exemplary standards in the state plan that will help you fulfill the law, but then also fulfill the requirements of meeting your students' needs. Remember, you want the most qualified people to be observing your programs, your services, to make those decisions that impact our future. And remember, our children are our future. So take a moment. I know this is going to be a little encompassing, but as you think about your PD and your professional learning, and as you go forward, who's involved in those conversations? Who's involved? Who's making the delivery of that material? How is that being observed? And so those are some of the conversation pieces we'll have today. I'll give you a time to share what you're doing. So in a nutshell, this is what you're looking at. What is required for teachers, those in supervisory roles, because we know at this point in time, it's not always just administrators. There are some teachers, instructional coaches that are also in that in those supervisory roles for our GT educators out there, and then counselors. And then you also got your school board. So those are part of that. What is your written plan? We've been working on those. You should have regular opportunities. So you as a district should be really thinking about what is your PD plan for your gifted and talented, for your teachers, either a year-round process or what's the system, how are we looking at it? Your board of trustees, once again, and then how are you evaluating your professional learning to ensure that it's impacting your students, that is moving forward with the curriculum, the program options that you have as a district, and is it still meeting your needs? Is this what you really need? Do you need more on TPSP? Do you need more on, you're building more dual language programs, dual language in GT? What are you doing to ensure that your professional learning is tailored? Do you need to have more in-house 30 hours outside where you have a large turnover at this point where you need more training, or is it more you need more update training? So those are a couple of things to be considered as you go forward. So we're going to get into talking about trainings. And someone asked about librarians. Okay, we'll address that one too. So if they're providing services, they need it. So your board of trustees, so we're going to start high level and work our way down a little bit. So your local school board of trustees, so these are the two pieces of law in our state plan that reflects our school boards. And if you know, and you want them to ensure their accountability. So what we're doing at the agency, we are updating the school board of trustees training for that we have provided. It is we're ensuring that all of those who do provide that training, either at the ESC, those who are at your district level, those at the agency level, and those who are doing outside, I'm doing a few more outside of the agency trainings, have the most current and updated training available. It is not as intense, well, I would not say intense, but as long as a 6 hour, but it does cover what they need to know about the state plan and how to ensure your program accountability. So we are updating that it's one of my other projects, so we will be working on that. So as you go forward, right. So then we go into our administrative training. So this is the other project I'm working on, is updating our administrative training to make sure it meets the needs of those administrators out there. We are addressing nature and needs, identification, program options, monitoring, and evaluation. I included monitoring and evaluation because you want to make sure as they go into these classrooms of your GT specialists and of your GT coordinators or your pull-out teachers, they know what they're looking for. What are the conversation pieces? What should a class be looking like? When you're thinking about the program options, do they truly understand why acceleration is a viable solution for some of our students, where most times they're thinking only grade level acceleration and not just subject area or other options in that? What does it really look like to have a scaffold or compact lesson where you're going through more? So hopefully with that, how does that look? How are we monitoring our program services? And then having those conversations at the district level of what are your goals as a district when you're talking to your administrators on what your program services should be looking like. I can give a high level, and our trainings can be high level that we give out through the ESCs, but when you need to start thinking how those conversation pieces of what do you want to see when it hits the rubber, hits the fan on the ground in your districts and those classrooms, and those administrators, and how do they have those conversations, especially because a lot of times they're going to be your front line after your DT teacher because they are all on that campus. And then our counselors training, as you know, is pretty much still the same. We are adding in our social and emotional needs and our parent, and I'm asking for parent relations because they are the other end of that conversation piece with our parents on program services, and also making sure that, you know, having those hard to ask questions answered by someone who really understands a GT kid, but also those needs and what that parent is looking like. So we're really updating all of our trainings for this year. These administrator and counselors should be ready in the spring. So look out for those with your ESCs forthcoming, and then possible walking out and doing some counselor trainings at the conferences. So we're looking to increase part of our visibility also, and to provide more training opportunities to those out there. So let's take a moment. So the content for these trainings will be actually already a developed 6 hour update, and they will be released to our ESCs. Actually, there is not a release date at this moment on school board training because there's a lot on the plate, working as fast as we can. So I can't give you a definite date, but we're working to hopefully have it in the spring also. We will talk about that. So, okay. So Kelsey, I see your question. We will I will get some guidance on that and see about an outline for that. If it does not come from us, I know TAGT has some guidelines outside, also some outlines. So we will, between the partnerships between ourselves and our higher education agencies, we will work out an outline to put out there. And if someone does have one, we will welcome it and we'll put it out on our resources page. So we will, I got that down. Got it. All right. And let me see if there's something else before I move on. Currently, there are no trainings on the gateway, but that is a good spot to put the school board training. We can talk about that. So going back to your art teachers, PE, and computer teachers. So let me come back to that question as we go further into this and to those. So program decisions for administrators and counselors. So, well, at the bare minimum, a program decision for an administrator or counselor, especially a counselor, is going to be scheduling of our students and making sure that they have, when you think of elementary, either they're going to be clustered in the right classes or in certain teachers' rooms. That will be also your administrators when you're looking at your course options, either at any grade level, where they're going to be placed, what teacher they're going to be working with, ensuring that those teachers have their training, because they need to know if this teacher does not have the appropriate training, they should not be placing them in these classrooms. And if there's an opportunity, who's the best, administrators may have a better knowledge than a counselor. Some counselors would, of if you're looking at accelerating third to fourth grade, third to fifth grade. Certain teachers have a better rapport with students who are moving faster and more advanced, who are more cognizant of the quirks and the differences of our GT students. So you want them to be those people who are knowledgeable about how they're working with students, how do they approach students, and that's at the bare minimum. And then if I know a lot is not the best option, I know some people do put their programs on the rotation. What does that look like on the rotation, and making sure that they put their appropriate students in there and not just automatically just push kids out of the program services. All right, so Jennifer, I see your question, and it takes us back. So Jennifer's question is, do administrators and counselors have to have the 6 hours once and be done, or is it an update every year? So 2 ways to approach that. Basically, the rules, the accountability standards have left it as they need it once. But you as a district can define if you have it more than once. So you can require it as a district every year. So you'll have to go look at your own district policies to see if you ask for it every year, or is it only once? Sure. Okay. Now to the 30 hours foundational training. So I took a few questions and answers that's been out there, and we're just going to roll with it and So basically, when you start thinking about your 30 hours of training and who is providing that training, that decision rests with you as the local district, but this is what you should be looking for: an expert in gifted education. They are experienced, they have training, and that they have either passed the GT X's or have an advanced degree in GT. So you want some people that have been trained, who are knowledgeable, who have experience. If they're going to provide training for your district, I know a lot of people are taking, Parks and Wildlife, and if you don't check to make sure Parks and Wildlife is doing something above and beyond, if it's good for all students, it might be a good PD, but is it a GT PD to get that, a part of your training? So think about, and that's really more for your update, but when you think about what are your services and what you're looking at, look at who's providing that training and what are your requirements for as a district. There is no set minimum time for the 30 hours. The amount of time you as a district is a dictates that. Basically right now, we still look at 6 hours. We break them up at 6 hours. So you have 6 hours for nature and needs, 6 hours for identification and assessment, and then most do 18 hours for curriculum and instruction. But you as a local district can define that a little bit different, a little bit depending, and it depends on who you're working with. I know some districts combine their nature and needs in assessing students to a full 6 hours and do a whole another 6 hours of social and emotional learning and do another whole 6 hours or identification for those who are actually a part of the identification process. So thinking about what is your needs for a district, then when you look at your curriculum and instruction piece, what are you trying to do in your program and program options? Are you building out a better curriculum, a different instructional process? What are you doing for your services? Are you emphasizing more research? Are you doing the depth and complexity? Are you building in more creativity? Are you incorporating leadership? So when you start thinking, using the services that we have provided, or you as a district provide, what are your goals? What are your needs? How do they fit? Do your nature and needs, do your assessing, and then what are your curriculum pieces? And the curriculum pieces, I always will tell you to define and make sure that you are meeting the student needs. You are the dictators of that. We have those modules available. We break them down into those 6 hours. So I think it's up to you as a district to make some of those decisions. Make sure I'm on track. And exploration of the 30 hours. And so with this one, because I've seen the questions come in every now and then. So you have a teacher who moves from district to district, or who's been in the district, like me, for probably like 20 years, and I took my 30 hours, 15 years ago. Does that expire, or do you want me to do new training? What? So you need to make that decision as a local district of, or we're going to just take, if you got your certificate from 20 years ago, is it still good? Do we want to, update every 10 years? But if you got your 6 hour updates, or if you're transferring in, you still got your certificate, but you don't have the updates, what are we asking people to do? So you as a local district have to decide, do you want them to do new training, the whole 30 hours, or the whole curriculum piece? What is your options, and what are your guidelines for that, in making those determinations? And knowing that, is it the current training? Are they aware of the, some of our new practices, some of our new thought processes? So those are some common things you need to think about as you build your written plan for GT and some of your procedures of how do we look at teachers? Are we requiring them that you do every 10 years, every 5 years? You know, that's you as a district. Just like you may determine who takes training. It's not it depends on your district. We're not requiring all teachers to have it, but those who are providing program services. That's why when you stabilize your foundation and you define what were your program services, if you are doing it in the core content, then yes, all of those teachers need the GT training. If you say core content and pull-out, core content and that pull-out teacher needs training. If you say just providing it throughout pull-out services, it is best that those core content teachers get it, but it's not a requirement. So that's where your changes in thought processes and looking at this as your systems may change. So thinking about those things. And that goes into our next piece of completing the 30 hours. The 30 hours training in our AP teachers. Now, as you know, there's a lot of different mindsets on this, but if you put it in your plan and is your part of your program options that teachers and students can may take pre-AP, AP, if they are doing the full 5-day summer institute, it can count towards the curriculum and instruction component pieces. Now, you as a district can determine if you want to take the full 18 or however you're going to use it, or you can take 12, you can take 6. That's you as a district. This is just a practice. It is not law and rule, okay? But if it's a part of your requirements, then you may use that. It may be you use 12 from the College Board and then ask that they do differentiated instruction at the within the district, so that you, or however you're looking at your curriculum as a district to build in that depth and complexity for our students. So think about the options and think about how you want to tailor that. But I highly do not recommend going over the 18 because you still need to have that nature and needs and that identification and assessment. Because I know a lot of you at the secondary may not do testing, but you really need to think about how they're assessing our students and how they're showing growth. And you really want them to know that they are working at that. So, and remember, we have to meet the law and get me down. So, completing training. So, as I stated earlier, and as you saw in law rule, they have within a semester to get their training. So, pretty much, if a teacher coming in with no required, you have to make those requirements as a local district on what are your timelines as that. So you can say 6 weeks, but remember, they have a semester. Now, if they come in like December, you have to think, is your semester or you're gonna go 6 weeks? But you also gotta think about what is your training window, what is your allowability, what is, if they come in May, most district, or in April. What is your options there when you're looking at training? So that's why you really need to start looking at when you're offering training to meet the needs of your teachers, especially those who are coming in, especially those who are needing their 6-hour updates, and what is your PD calendar. So all right, that leads us to our 6-hour update. So once again, law and rule, teachers who are part of your defined services are required to participate in the annual GT Update Professional Development Session. So you as the district dictates what that professional development options are that you're going to count. So you should look at those updates for your students and making sure that they continue that service and so that they can be trained. You want the best in the classroom. So you want to know really when is this happening? So you need to start thinking about, and probably getting ahead of myself, of your calendar and what's going on with those trainings. So remember, encourage to have those updates prior to starting instruction, and so they can incorporate what they've learned into the new year. And then you want the most knowledge and those people who are interested in serving our GT students. So we're going to the 6-hour update. So a lot of questions are out there on what kind of trainings can count for the 6-hour update. That is a local district decision, but here are some criteria that you can use when you are considering GT and looking at what you're going to count for your update trainings. So is it prepared for GT teachers to meet the needs of our GT students? Is it appropriate content knowledge above and beyond what is, their undergraduate teacher prep program? Does it meet your district or GT identified needs? Does it increase the understanding? Is it an expert? Is it a practitioner? What is it we're looking for? So what are you looking for? And then does it meet some of this criteria? It doesn't, when you start looking at the examples out there, depending on what you're looking at and on your services, everything should not qualify. And you should be able to say no. And then, but there are certain things out there that should, and you should develop a process on how are you reviewing these documents. Are you looking if they're coming from Parks and Wildlife to use them again? Are they coming with the agenda so that you can see that this is what they're qualified? Are you looking at it prior to it, or are you just putting a rubber stamp on it because someone asked and you're working with the science? Or are you working with your science department to ensure that it is meeting the gifted and talented needs and the curriculum is moving at a different pace? So I think it leads you to some open conversations and some decisions on what are your program needs. All right, I'm going back. So I'll come back to the questions in a minute, and then we'll go. So when you think about your 6-hour update, you really need to think about making it individualized for your teachers to the point that you can. And that goes back to a part of it, your evaluation. What are your program goals? Where are you trying to go as a district when you're looking at your programs and your services? Some campuses may need more instruction on acceleration, where other campuses may need more instruction on research. Another campus may want to look at more clustering and how to do that and effective processing. So you looking at what are those 6-hour updates and looking at the needs. You might have a campus really that needs to talk about the social and emotional needs of their students. And so, or you're building in a new level of dual language, or you have a higher level ELs. So looking at your trainings and the opportunities, as I said, you're bringing in leadership as a new component. So that's where, when you start looking at individualizing what are your objectives, and then making sure it reflects your program goals and your comprehensive needs as a district. So, and it should be reflected in your district improvement plan and your campus improvement plan. As I said, it doesn't have to be overarching for the whole district. We're all going to do the same, but it could be, or it could be tailored to per campus or tailored truly to the individualized teachers. So thinking about what is really needed, what's needed at the middle school level, what's needed at the high school level. So thinking about that 6-hour update and making sure it meets the all and meets the good of your students. And so that is something to consider also. Oh, sorry, went too fast. So you as the district define your annual professional development calendar. So you should ensure that you have a plan of, and depending, and I'm just going to throw one out there. So it's January to December. Weird schedule, but so if I get my 6-hour update in January, does that cover me all the way to the next year, or should I wait till the summer? So, or if I get my update in December, am I covered? School started, there's no way I can, I'm not implementing any of this. So you have to think, when do you want teachers to get training and when does it count? Some of you working with your school district's PD calendar already should have a rolling system. Some of you build your own. I know we have our pockets and windows when we try to get as much training as we can in. When I was in the district, next week would have been part of our training window. I'll be working, doing training on a couple of days, and then, we're off for those teachers who are out there who need their updates. So what are your options? How are you offering training? There's so many options and variety out there now with online training. Some of you are doing in your PLCs. And so think about, how do you ensure that that teacher gets that their update in enough time to implement it in their current teaching practices and not necessarily in the next year. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of the PDs that we do have available. One is our economically and gifted and talented disadvantaged gifted and talented students. That is a 6-hour update. We have the overlooked and underserved, the English, the gifted and talented EL learner. That is available. And then our latest two newest ones are our dual language, meeting the needs of our gifted dual language learners. That is specifically talking about a dual language program, and then attending to the effect social and emotional learning of our gifted and talented students. The two that are, and then our administrator and counselors will be coming out this spring. So currently, this is how we are putting out PD at the through our ESCs. So our 30-hour training, this is our design, is the nature and needs, identification and assessment, models of differentiated instruction, creativity and critical thinking, and then engaging students by adding depth and complexity. Some of our other 6-hour updates, raising expectations, which is our rigor training. We do still continue to have our twice exceptional and gifted and talented services. That is actually also being updated as part of our SPED projects. And then we have creativity and innovation. And then finally, the implementing the Texas Performance Standards Project is another opportunity. So there are several 6-hour updates available for you out there. And so this is your opportunity throughout. We'll have questions in a minute, but this is your opportunity. If I have a district that wants to share some of their practices from the field, what are you doing in PD and how you're approaching professional development? If you would like to unmute yourself, please do. I don't have organized people this week. Anyone? We'll look at the chat as we go through. all silent out there. All right, so let's see. I'm going to continue on, and then I will come back to questions in a minute. So I just want to clarify some language out there. So GT certified is a teacher who's obtained the GT supplemental certificate. So they have passed the GT supplemental certificate. So they have that certificate on their teaching record. Now, we all know that certificate alone does not qualify you in Texas. You have to have the 30 hours of training. So going to that point, those without a GT supplemental certificate is GT trained. A lot of people do say, oh, I'm GT certified. You may have a certificate that says you have completed your 30 hours, but that's it. It is GT trained and not certified. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understands the language, because I know a lot of people, principals are out there, and a lot of people are going for their GT supplemental certificate. Or I think a lot of people are getting their certificates and expecting to see that at some point in time, and you've been through training, your 30 hours, and expecting to see that on your teaching records, and it will never be there. We do not maintain that documentation, and that leads me to, I think, hopefully documentation. It does. We as a state do not maintain your certificate documentation. So that is either held at your district level, most times at your district level, and then sometimes the ESCs, depending on how well they maintain their documentation, have that a part of their records. But it's never going to be at the state level at this point in time. I don't know if it may ever get to that point. So here's some things you need to consider. Who is the keeper of those certificates? I always highly recommend, when I get those questions from teachers that's moving in, is that they keep a copy. I still have all of my copies of my certificates, hard and soft. And then you as a district, what is acceptable documentation? Are you looking for those certificates from the trainings? Are you looking for the agendas? What are the handouts? What are you looking for those that are not provided within your typical means of receiving professional learning? So who verifies that outside GT content? Is it the principals? Is it the counselor? Or is it the GT court? So what level verifies that? How long do you maintain that documentation? A lot of teachers come to find out when they walk away from a district and they change systems, the documentation is not there. So make sure everyone understands how they are maintaining and keeping that documentation. And what are your procedures in place pertaining to pretty much what we talked about today, but also into your procedures on verification, documentation. What are your procedures on professional learning? That leads to, remember, we have to, part of our plan is to evaluate our program services. But evaluation of your professional learning really needs to step up to another level as we move forward. Is when you're looking at your professional learning, is it meeting your needs? Is it providing you what you're looking for? And if not, what do we need to move forward and how do we need to change it? And I think that's going to lead up to the questions of what modules do you need as a district that's not provided currently by the state, that either we can develop or help develop an outline that you can use. So I think that's going to be something either put in the chat or in a minute, you're going to have question and answer. Just kind of throw it out there. What do you want as a state for PD in the future? I can tell you the things that we're working, the next thing that we're also going to be putting out, it will come out next year, it will not come out this year, is actually a secondary level depth and complexity. It is specifically designed for the secondary level with depth and complexity. And we will be updating all of the rest of our materials of depth and complexity as we move forward. So that also looks at your written plan. What are you doing annually in your district? And your written plan can be very simple as we're going to use ESC to do all our PD. We're going to do a in-house, or we're going to use online training. We're going to do book studies. It can be very simple as that, or it can be a little bit more complex of you're building out a whole, before I left the district, we built out a whole 30-hour training online. So, you know, that's intelling, getting people trained, getting the materials, and then putting that training out, and then monitoring that training. So that might be, and as I said, it's just written plan. Someone knows it's on paper somewhere and it's available. So don't think, you know, you have to do out a whole dissertation, but it can be very simple as a one-pager on, this is what we're doing for our professional learning. So everyone knows. It might be just the calendar of we want to go to these trainings and this is how we're going to do it. And that leads to questions, and I'm going back. All right. I think I'm going to go further up so I can try to catch some people earlier. Or if someone has a question, you can unmute yourself and throw it out at me. I will do my best. So I'm going back to, is Leanne, and her question was, has TASB released the recommendations for implementation? It's supposed to come out by the end of the month. I want to say the written, they may have the online version currently, but the paper book copy has not been published, and I do not have access to those. So I mentioned that one earlier. Talked about the outlines. So currently right now, we do use our ESCs to provide training. We can think about other options as we go forward. I've answered the one about the administrators and counselors. I don't think I was slide that one. I'll come back to yours, Kelsey. So I have to look at the slide to see what the law, the long rule referred to. So Lisa, can you use online e-courses for the 30-hour foundation as well as a 6-hour update? Yes, you can. That is you as a local district's decision on how you want to provide that. Yes, those trainings are available through your ESC. So, and then my other Kelsey Lorenza, we will look to see about that. Okay. And someone did mention that TAGT does have online training through their Connect. And then I know some of you as a district provide your own individual courses. And then D.O. Connor is asking about free low cost options for online training. So if someone has a recommendation for that and using that and what they're using and what platform, if you will share that out. So let me talk on my leadership. It's never been a practice of the state to provide it straight to the district, our trainings, but we'll see what is the direction and what we can do to kind of find a happy medium. I will put that out there. We will see about the gateway and their options. All right, so Rain has put her information out there to chat about creating modules. And then once again, for those, Robin, if you look further up in the chat, someone provided the link for where you can find all of the Zoom meetings and the notes and the chat conversations from those and the video recordings is on the TA website under Gifted Resources, Gifted and Talented Resources. So.
That's what I asked.
Okay, so TA does not endorse any outside organizations for GTeach updates. That is a local district decision. So that is for you to go out and make that decision and to approve. We are not in the business of approving trainings. So only you at the local district can approve trainings. So. So on those teachers who are not providing instruction but want to get their 30 hours, I think it's pretty much up to them. Or if you have and that might be something you want to decide upon and put it in your own parameters to get that training. Basically, the law says as long as they have it before they provide instruction or within that semester of providing instruction. So that can be left up to you as a local district to give them a semester or longer. So because they're not providing instruction. So trying to make sure I hit everything. So yes, so after this session, tomorrow, probably tomorrow, no, not tomorrow, because I will be traveling tomorrow. Depending on when the recording is complete, this will be posted. It might be Thursday morning, if not this afternoon, but definitely Thursday morning. You will have access to this recording and to this PowerPoint in the chat. So, that's it. So if that is all the questions, so that is my email and the Advanced Academics Gifted and Talented email. And then our next meeting date is December 10th, 2019 at 9 a.m. we will start talking about identification at that point in time. As I asked earlier, if you could provide your questions in advance so we can get those out and addressed as we move forward. We'll be pretty much kind of walking through the state plan, looking at pieces, and if anyone likes to share about their what they're doing in their district, please let me know, because I know everyone would like to hear from you. I can walk you through the high level, but some people want to know some of that implementation. So if you see me at Tag It and I say, don't you want to share? Please say yes. So thank you. I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving. Take some time, some rest. Don't take a book home, at least not a workbook. Take another book home, just read, relax, enjoy your family. And then see you in San Antonio, ready to learn, ready to engage, and have fun. So it is 1:59. I tried to stay on time, everyone. So if there are no further questions, and I will see you next time. All right. Bye, everyone.